if anybody knows and wants to chime in, they can. What are the two types of man down defenses that you can run on? Not necessarily formation and that kind of stuff, but kind of the two different systems of man down defense. Anybody got a guess on one of them?
I would say, Coach, one would be rotation.
Yep, you got one of them, and then probably the other one is zone. So there's two kind of main philosophies behind uh, playing it as a man down, and honestly, these two philosophies apply no matter what kind of man down situation you're in. If it's a penalty man up man down situation, there we would run the same thing if the concepts if we got beat on a slide. So we would have a rotational defense behind the slide. So the pros for zone defenses, it's a lot easier for kids to understand and install. They have a space, they have an area they have to cover, they have to cover guys in that area. Some of the cons of that is because guys are stuck to an area, it's easier for offensive teams to kind of manipulate, overload, or find ways to attack stationary targets on the defense. Rotational defenses, they're a little more versatile. They can run against multiple formations. You can kind of be more adaptive to different things that different teams throw at you, but they do require a little more coordination and a little more communication. Um, so we're going to go over four different types of man down defenses today, and this is kind of the chart of where they start from complexity and effectiveness, and then kind of move up. So my hope is if you're a box of one guy, we can teach you how to run a house or a rotational that might man up. If you're a house guy, maybe we can add a rotational defense to your repertoire this year, so you guys can be more effective on the man down. So probably the most basic man up or man down defense that we see the most commonly, especially at the youth game, and the easiest to install is a box and one, or if you just tilt it a little bit, it can become a diamond to one. So very simple. You got five defenders. Everybody's got a zone. They try to cover the best they can the players in their zone, and so and it's easy to tweak between the box to the diamond depending on what the other team's throwing at you. So if you either see as the game progresses that the other team likes to run 2-3-1, and I'm counting from up top, two offensive players across the top, three across the middle, one at X, a 3-3 or a 2-2-2. That box with is probably your best shape. A lot of ways that people see against boxes, they'll move to something like a 14 or a 1-3-2, and that's just an easy adjustment to rotate your guys to that diamond formation instead of a box. So, like I said, simple to understand, but since guys are kind of in stationary zones, it's easier for the offense to scheme around, overload one zone with multiple guys they can't cover, or attack different seams that they can move into between zones since those zones are pretty stationary. So kind of a level up from this is what's called a house zone. You get an extra player on the perimeter. So as you can see, we kind of build a house here. The base of the house, the top here, and then if you make the roof out of the top three players, that's where the name house comes from. So you get an extra player on the perimeter to kind of help cover up seams, help with outside players, but and then everybody kind of has a help responsibility to help the crease, with a primary responsibility being to the guy farthest from the ball to pinch in and help with crease. Um, so it's easier. The pros, it's easier to cover the outside guys. It's harder to get overloaded from having the extra guy on the outside, but you have to have really good communication on your backside to make sure that crease doesn't get let go. Let me see if I can pull up some clips from our high school team. So, Coach, can you all see that all right? So we are the team in white, and we're going against Dripping Springs and Dark, and they do a really good job of running a nice house against our man up here. So ball is here down the corner. You can start to see the structure of the house. We have the two low guys. We've got the two high guys, and we got the top of the house here, which is their short stick. Different philosophies on where you put your short stick. Some like at the top of the house. Some like to put at the bottom of the house. Some will shift depending on the opponent. There's probably no wrong answer, but you probably want to put him in the spot that you think is the least dangerous for the team you're playing. So we play through it. As the ball moves around, you can see we have a high crease guy here, and you can see they're doing a really good job as the ball swings around, passing off that crease guy to help, and everybody's pinching in to help on the crease. Even as we switch crease guys here, they do a really good job rotating extra spots. We try to squeeze one in, and they've done a really nice job of all pinching on the crease, kind of clogging the middle, as well as doing a really good job of covering our guys in the perimeter. Oops, wrong slide. So those are your two kind of basic zones. Probably your box of one, and then probably more a little more effectively is that house zone that requires the little coordination on the crease. As you start getting to your rotationals, there's two different types of rotationals to go over. One would be a 4-man rotation, which has a zone principal behind it in the middle, and then you have your 5-man rotation, which is full on rotations. So when we talk about rotational defenses, there's a couple of different rules we have, no matter if it's 5-man or 4-man. The way this works is we have one defender that has to guard the ball. We have to have one defender that has to guard the person to the adjacent left, and we have one person that has to guard the adjacent right. And then in a 4-man rotation, we have a defender that's just required to handle the crease. For a lot of teams, that's their short stick. They're going to stick that shorty on the crease. And just as guys move in and out of that crease area, he stays on the crease and everybody else rotates around him. So if we have one guy on crease, one guy on ball, one guy to the left, one guy to the right, that leaves one extra defender to split between the final two players. So as that ball moves, the rules apply the same. So if that ball moved to here, this guy would now be the ball on ball. This guy would now take right. This guy would no longer be the split. He would now have to come take the ball's left side. And then that leaves this guy the farthest from the ball. He's got one guy splitting two. So as the ball moves, so do the rotations around the guy in the middle. Now we have this guy on ball. Now we have this guy to the right, this guy to the left, and now this guy splitting two on the backside. So we always have somebody on ball. We always are ready for the next pass across. We've got our guy covering the crease. So even if offensive players come in and out of the crease, he's able to just stay there and kind of stay home and work that area. And we can apply, if we want to, we can apply pressure or just be in a really good spot to make sure we are covered up on guys' hands as they receive the ball and not be able to get overloaded because we're stuck in one zone. So to kind of add one more layer to that is a 5-man rotation. So instead of having a guy just sit on the crease, we're having all 5 guys in the rotation. This is probably one of the most efficient man-down defenses you can run, just because no matter what the other team does, we can move. If they change formations, we can move around it. If they go empty set and leave a guy off the crease, we can move around it. It's probably the most versatile style of man-down defense that you'll see at the higher levels of high school, collegiate, even and beyond that. So the rules are the same. You have to have one player on defense, or excuse me, one guy on ball, one guy to the left, one guy to the right. And now instead of one guy just worrying about the crease, you now have 2 guys splitting 3. So we communicate through. Obviously, we got to cover up the crease guys, one of the most dangerous guys to begin with. Then we'll split with the rest of them. But it gives you an extra guy in a rotation, and it makes your rotations shorter because you have an extra guy in the rotation. So you don't, if the ball movement is good for the other team, you can still get on hands quickly because your rotations are not as long as if it was a 4-man roto. And they've got to go a little farther because you have an extra guy out of that rotation. So this has been our primary, for my high school team, primary man down defense for the last several years. The same game. We are in white this time, playing man down defense. We'll get there in a second. So as we get into the action, you'll see we have our guy on ball. We have our guy on right. This guy is going to take the left, and then we've got 2 splitting 3, and this guy's even pinching a little bit more to help on the backside as the ball gets moved. So as the ball moves one more, we've got ball, we've got left, we've got right, and then we've got these 2 guys splitting these 2 and the guy on the backside. So even as they change their formation, cut a crease guy, we're still in good shape. Ball's at X. We have the guy on ball. This guy's rotating the guy on right. And we have our 2 right here splitting the 3 in the backside and being able to cover this cutter as he cuts through. Good job getting sticks in the lane. And we recover quickly. This guy was on ball. He comes to the right. Now they move the ball. And we're going to rotate quickly out of it and work through that. So no matter what the defense throws at you, we're in a position that we can follow those principles. And stay on hands and not get overloaded in any of our different zones. Any questions on what we've gone through so far? So one of the things that we like to do at our middle school and high school levels is also talk about our penalty release. So what we'll do if we have a penalty, once the penalty gets assessed, we are actually going to sub one of our attackmen off the field and sub a midfielder on. So as the opponent is playing man up offense here, as that penalty releases, instead of having that release player come from the box and fly into the play here, we're going to save about 15 yards of sprint time just by having the attackman we've subbed off sub on to release that penalty. And then we're going to have our short stick midfielder release from midfield and come in. And we can cut down about 15 yards at runtime, which can save about 2 to 3 seconds, depending on the age group, of you getting back into your 6-on-6 settled defense as opposed to waiting for that guy to come all the way from the box. So it's a pretty simple substitution that can really help get you back into a 6-on-6 setting faster than if you just just ran the penalized player from the box. So moving into man up offense, we've got some principles we like to run. These principles are key to us, not just for man up, but any situation where we've gained an advantage of at least a person. So that applies to obviously man up, man down. These apply to clears since we have a goalie and have an extra man advantage here. This applies to transition if we have fast breaks or 5v4s or 6v5s. Anytime we have a man advantage. It also applies to if we're playing 6-on-6 offense, we dodge, draw a slide. Now we've got a double team on a player, and we've got an advantage in the backside between a 5v4 and a backside. These are the principles that we apply anytime we've gained advantage through any of those situations. So principle number 1, always be dangerous. Always be in a spot where you can catch, get to a dodging or shooting position quickly. If nobody's guarding you, you've got to push toward the goal until somebody does get picked up. Principle number 2 is attack the seams between the defense. We'll talk a little more about this in a second, but really want to fill the spots between defenders, especially against zones, especially against rotations. So we can improve our angle every time we make a pass, as well as make it more difficult for the defense to communicate through zones. The big one for us is we pass the pressure. So if you draw a rotation, draw a slide, the first place we don't look as to where that rotation came from, where that slide came from. It's our first look. And then we have a caveat to this rule. If you look to where that slide or rotation came from and that guy's covered up, you have a skip lane open and can get through the defense on the backside if they've already over-rotated to the player that was open. And then as Coach touched on before, we never want to let one guy guard two of our offensive players. So we got to make sure we have good enough spacing that we can make a player have to rotate and not be able to guard one with two. So my favorite set, no matter the age group, we can add some complexities to it as we go up the developmental chain, is what we call a diamond in two. So you can see we have our diamond of three guys up top, and then we've got two guys sitting pipe. If you guys have a lefty, probably the top spot for the lefty to start with is going to be right here on this pipe. If you got two lefties, then obviously you're going to slide a second one here, where has better shooting range. But this year, my high school team, we have no offensive lefties, so we're going to run this a little bit with just somebody that's got a decent left hand to play those spots, and it's doable. Not ideal, but doable. So to talk about how we want to run against a box and one, like I said earlier, we really want to attack seams is what we're looking to do. So if a box and one, we really want to sit the areas of the diamond between the defenders. So as they have the ball up top, he steps into the seam between. He's got to draw one of the two defenders. Sometimes he'll draw both. And then whichever one he draws, he's going to pass to pressure. So as this guy comes to him, he's going to step in here. We're going to attack the seam in between, probably draw a rotation up here, if not get a shot. And the same thing applies. We pass to pressure, attack the seam here, and then we're going to just move the ball faster than the other team can rotate if they end up rotating at all. If it's a zone defense, you may just get some easy looks really early on into play. Earlier, I touched on if this team tried to match with diamond in two, or excuse me, with diamond plus one to match this rotation. Oopsie. That guy's now upside down. They're trying to match our diamond with their own. That's fine. We're just going to do the opposite. We'll just have the ball carrier, again, carry the ball to attack a seam in between these guys. Since it's a zone defense, they've got to decide who's going to take him, and we'll just rotate everybody around it as well. The highest level of this offense that we like to run, we're actually in a constant rotation. I'll show you a picture of that later. So if they go diamond, we're just going to do a quick little carry and rotate our diamond and turn it into a box so we can attack those seams. Same principles apply. He attacks the seam here. Ball, somebody covers him up. We pass the pressure, step in, and then we can just keep playing that game, attacking those seams, passing to the pressure until we move the ball faster than they can rotate and get some good looks. I got a clip for this. So this is a similar look. This is us against Lake Travis. They're kind of running a little stuff that. They're running a little bit of a box and one on a string. So you see their box and one here. They've got their short stick on the crease. And then he's actually on a string, which that means is if they get overloaded on the top, he's going to pop out of that area and try to help on the perimeter, almost like a house zone. So as we are in our diamond, we have our four diamond guys. We have him, and we're already starting to rotate our diamond. This is part of our man up is we're not stationary, but we're going to rotate that diamond consistently to find those seams and attack them. And then we've got our two guys here on the pipes that are too low. So as we rotate up in our diamond, we're looking to attack that seam, pass the pressure. So he passed here. That defender tried to guard both. So we throw back, attack the seam in the middle, which draws the middle defender here. And then as we draw the middle defender, we pass the pressure again, find that high crease guy, and we go over to get a nice goal off this. Any questions so far? Cool. So I talked a little bit about high crease play. This is the concept that for your man up, your crease positioning is really dependent upon how they play defense. So in things like a 5-man rotation and a house defense, there isn't a guy assigned to covering just the crease as opposed to a box of one and a 4-man rotation. So our rule is if there's not a guy designated to just cover the crease, we want the crease guy to be cutting toward the ball carrier. So ball's up top here. We want this guy positioning high in the crease. So it creates a stretch here where the player helping to guard the crease one can't guard two. So it makes him make decisions on the balls if he's going to stay with the crease guy or his guy home. So if the ball's on the wing, he would cut toward the wing carrier, and then that creates the separation needed for this defender to have to make a decision. Opposite, if they're in a 4-man rotation or if they're in a box and one and there's a guy designated to the crease, we want our crease guy opposite the ball. So if there's a guy designated here, we'd have him low if the ball's up top and then moving around farther away from the ball so we can attack those seams without the crease player being involved and be able to attack that. So knowing what your other team is running, if it's got a crease guy or not, is going to be really important on determining how you want your crease player to play, either near the ball or opposite the ball. Either stretch that backside defender or move the crease defender away from your on-ball actions. So going back to film, here's our too low. We're getting into our diamond here. This is against Vandergrift last year, and they're in a house. So they've got their base of their house, 2 guys low here. They got the top of their house, this guy, and then they've got this guy's gonna be the top of the house. He's sloughed in right now to help crease because of the ball's down low. You can see they've decided to put their short stick on this corner. Other teams have put it up high. It just kind of depends on your personnel and what the other team is doing as well. So as we get into our shape, start rotating our diamond. Our crease guy does a really good job here of staying high in the crease, making it a tough decision for their low guys to either guard the guy on the pipe or help on the crease. As we rotate around, we find that nice high crease guy with a quick, simple finish there. So that's where that crease spacing becomes really important for depending on if they're in a defense that has a designated crease guy or if it's a help defense off the rotation. And then as I talked about kind of what we do, it's going to be hard to play any type of defense against a 5-man rotation or even a 4-man rotation if you're stagnant on the outside, because that defense is rotating around. You're not going to be able to create much advantages unless you can get a really tough skip pass across if they're rotating quickly. So like I just kind of showed in the clips, we rotate our diamond, and then so the principles are the same. So even against a 5-man rotation, if the ball carrier's here and he rotates between these 2 guys and attacks that seam, they may pass, they may stay. Somebody's got to have a communication if they're going to pass a guy off or not. So what we really try to do is attack those seams. And as we rotate, we're not necessarily just rotating to a space. We're rotating the areas between defenders. And so if we can attack seams, this guy steps into a space. The defender comes to him. This guy cuts into the space between them. And as we start getting guys committed to the ball, now we can keep the rotation going past the pressure because the pressure is coming from your right here. He's going to rotate up. He's going to fill the spot behind him. And now we've created a rotation that if we move the ball quicker, then we can swing the ball faster and then draw all the rotations down and get a nice, hopefully, finish on the crease or somewhere close. If not, collapsing the defense and creating a nice step down for at 10 to 12 yards. So. What questions do you guys have?
Coach, I got a question for you. How
Yes, sir.
important do you think it is? How important do you think it is for the six guys you have playing man up to understand what the defense is doing, as opposed to just saying that, oh, getting them to do what we do better than what it's best we can do it? Like, you understand my question?
Yep.
Like, what's the, yep.
So, obviously the high school level, we'll have scout film. We'll have an idea what we're going to do at the middle school level. That's probably not realistic. So a couple of things you need to figure out quickly, as we mentioned before, is um, one, if you don't know exactly what kind of defense they're going to run, establish early if it'll be easy to establish if they have somebody designated to the crease. And if you can get your players to figure out if they have somebody on the crease or if there's a guy that's coming in and out of the crease to help guard it, then that will help set you up for what you want to do. Otherwise, it's pretty simple principles. You just want to find those seams, attack those seams with your ball handler, and then fall from there. You should be in good shape. So if you can figure out how you want to space your crease and just follow the principles, you'll be able to find some pretty good looks no matter what kind of, if you don't know what kind of defense they're going to be running into it. But you should be able to figure out pretty quickly, even with one, just kind of pass the ball around, kind of see our guys rotating, our guys staying in their areas, our guys, even just one carry from one spot to another, you'll quickly decide if they're in a zone or if they're rotating with you the whole way. So that's a great question. Any other questions?
I have one more. I have one more too.
Yeah, go for it.
Maybe I think it'd be cool to talk a little bit about, obviously people, when you play man down defense or you play man up, it's easy for people to say when they're figuring out their roster, oh, our starters just play man up or man down or whatever. But is there something when, when you have your high school team, or you maybe give people some insight as to what are you looking for in players who might not necessarily to play man up and man down? Who you're looking for, what type of players, if they're not specifically a starter, they might be able to help you in those situations to get guys some playing
Uh,
time.
yeah. So number one requirement for any of our guys to man up is we've got to be able to pass. Um, so even if you don't, you know, a big heavy shot is nice and fun to have, but more importantly, are guys that can pass and that can make reads and follow simple principles. So that's why we try to build this out into really easy rules that anybody at any age can apply. We took our Mad Dog South Elite 34 team, so fourth graders, to a tournament this weekend, and this is the exact man up we put in. We just put in a diamond and two, made these principles available, so even fourth graders in a short period practice time were able to kind of digest these and kind of figure out what we want to do with these. But for our man up guys, we've got a bunch of variety of guys. We got smaller guys that can finish in tight that we are allowed to put on our pipes. We've got some guys that got a little outside shot that can stretch the defense a little bit on the outside. Righties, lefties. The nice thing about this set is no matter what your variety of guys are, you don't have big shooters. You can still find guys that step into seams, draw defenders, and as long as everybody can pass, you're in a really good spot here. Awesome. Any other questions?